Hi, now I will start this course by introducing the three main things we need in order to get a website online. The first one of these is called domain name. The second one is called web hosting. The third one is the theme we need to install and build our website on. First, let's start with the domain name. What is a domain name? A domain name is simply the name of your website that appears in the URL when people type it over here to get to your website. Now, as you can see here, the domain name consists of two parts. The first part you see over here, which is the personal or the business name of your website you choose. And the second part you see over here, which is the extension of your domain name. And in our case, it's a .com extension. And there are tens of domain name extensions that are available and that you can pick from, like .net, .info, .me, .com over here, which is one of the most common ones, and so on. And you can always pick a domain name for your website as long as that domain name is not reserved by anyone in the world. However, for example, if I have this specific domain name with this extension over here reserved, you can always pick and reserve the same website name you see over here, but with a different extension. For example, a .net or a .info and so on. But for this specific domain name, you cannot pick this one here with this same extension because it's already reserved for me. Now, there is one more thing you need to consider when picking a domain name for your business or for yourself if it's a personal website. Make sure you make it look as professional and as simple as possible and not include lots of numbers like this or dashes and then numbers again and then letters that don't make any sense. Make sure it's professional, simple, and easy to memorize. And once you reserve this specific domain name, no one else in the world can reserve this same domain name. It'll be unique and specifically reserved for you, and no one else can use it. Now, this gets us to the second thing we need for our website, which is web hosting. So, what is web hosting? Well, simply, web hosting is the service you need to store your website files so people around the world can access these files by typing your domain name in the box over here. And in short, web hosting is provided by so many companies around the world whose mere business is to provide high quality web hosting. Simply, the process of hosting your website in these companies is done by storing your website's files, which are connected to your domain name, on high-powered and large computers that are commonly known as web servers. And these servers are available 24/7 for access. Besides, these web servers are connected to the internet so people around the world can access your website through them. And this is for domain name and web hosting. Now in this tutorial, I will go over free and paid web hosting. Now for this purpose, I have picked two of the top web hosting providers in the world. One of them is considered one of the top and free hosting providers, and the other is considered one of the top, if not the top, paid web hosting provider. Now first, let's start with the free web hosting provider. I will start by going to this tab over here and to this sample website that I have created on a free web hosting provider called Wix.com. Now, there are three main reasons why I never recommend free web hosting providers. Now, the first reason is that these free web hosting providers are not search engine friendly. And most, if not all, websites built using free web hosting providers are not indexed by search engines. And this is really, really important because if your website isn't indexed by search engines, you will be losing a lot of traffic and a lot of valuable customers. That's simply because people won't be able to find you on search engines like Google. And this brings us to the second point of why I do not recommend free web hosting, which is the fact that free web hosting providers do not give you a brandable domain name. And I want to emphasize a non-brandable domain name. Now, in order to understand what a non-brandable domain name is, look over here at this extension of this website I have created. If you notice, this website does not have its own unique domain name because after the website name you see over here, there is a wix.com, and it's not a .com. It's never the same as a .com. This is what we call a subdomain. It's not a full domain for you. It's a subdomain, meaning that it does not start with your business or personal name and end with the extension you see over here. There is always something in between, which is the free hosting provider's name, Wix. And also this part over here, which is called a subdirectory that represents the website name. Now, once again, this one you see over here is not what we call an international domain name extension like a .com or a .net and so on. It's a subdomain you see over here. This is a subdomain and not a full domain that is uniquely reserved for you. And this is what you will find on all web hosting providers, that they do not provide you with your own domain name and unique extension. Their name will always be stuffed here in the middle, and this URL you see over here is not easily remembered by your customers or even by you. It is hard to remember and does not look professional, and it will not help you build trust with your customers if you have a domain name that looks something like this. And guess what? Eventually, in order to build your professional, responsive, and beautiful website, you will have to pay for these web hosting providers. And you will have to pay a lot of money, much more than you would regularly pay for a good web hosting provider. And I will go over that in just a second. Because if you want to build a website that has enough storage, enough bandwidth, a good domain name over here, and with no annoying and forced ads like the ones you see down here and up here. Now, with these free web hosting providers, in order to get these features, you will definitely need for your website with those free web hosting providers to get the ads removed, to get a decent domain name for yourself, and enough storage, bandwidth, support, and so on. You will have to upgrade for a premium account. Now, let's go to their premium accounts and see what they look like. Now, in order to be fair in this comparison, I will choose the top two packages those guys have, which is the one you see here, the unlimited, and the e-commerce you see over here. Now, if you look at the monthly price of these two packages over here, this one here is for about $16 a month, and this one over here is for about $20 a month. And if you look at what these provide, you will notice that the bandwidth and the storage are not unlimited in this package, which is very, very expensive. And also for this one here, even if it provides unlimited bandwidth, it still does not provide unlimited, or what we call unmetered storage. Now let's go to the paid web hosting provider and see what they have to offer for us. Now, if you look at the most expensive and premium plan those guys have, that is the business plan, you will see it is for $13.56 a month. And if you look at the features they provide you with, there's unmetered disk space, which is basically the storage they offer you. And as for the bandwidth, it's unlimited. And as for the domains allowed that you can host on this plan, they're unlimited. And the list goes on all the way down here. And even if you look at these other two plans, you will see that they also provide you with unmetered disk space and unmetered bandwidth. Also, still, this one here provides you with unlimited allowed domains, which is the one I have personally purchased and that I will show you how to sign up for in the next tutorial. Now, one more advantage that these paid web hosting companies provide over the free ones, that those guys, they have their servers up and running 24/7, and it is guaranteed that your website will not be down for any reason because they have backup servers and your website is always hosted and running. But as for this one here, it is definitely not guaranteed with free web hosting providers to have your website up and running 24/7. Because most of the free web hosting providers don't have their own servers to host your website on. Most of them, and not necessarily this one here, they rent servers in other countries that are not maintained by them personally and that may go down a lot. But with hosting providers like those guys, you guarantee that your website is always up and running and it's always backed up on their servers. And as for this web hosting provider, which is called HostGator.com, those guys were awarded the top 24/7, 365 customer support among all web hosting providers in the world. And they offer so many other features like 45-day money-back guarantee and so on, like you see all the way down here. And I personally, after doing a lot of research and trying out so many web hosting providers, I have came across this one here and found out that HostGator.com is the top web hosting provider for me so far. And this is what I recommend for you as well. And like I said before, in the next tutorial, I will walk you through the sign up process for this website. The sign up process to get a domain name and hosting for your website. Now, thank you for watching. See you in the next tutorial.